Hey everyone, it's Brenton here again in the kitchen. I just made some ham bone soup with this leftover ham bone from Easter, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. So we're going to get started with the centerpiece of this recipe, the ham bone. As you can see, I left quite a bit of the ham meat on it. I just made this past week for Easter. So we're just going to get started by taking the ham and just dumping it right into the stock pot. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the rest of the ingredients. As I just showed you, we have the ham bone in the stock pot. I'm going to show you the rest of the ingredients. We have 3 bay leaves, 4 cloves of garlic, celery, 3 carrots, fresh ginger, 1 yellow onion, fresh thyme and parsley, and 5 smaller potatoes. I'm going to add a splash of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to add some kidney beans, and I'm just going to use some black pepper. I don't feel salt is necessary to add to ham because it's salty usually to begin with. And I should also say, when I made this ham a few days ago, I had pineapple on it and I glazed it with brown sugar and honey. So that's already on this ham in particular, but you can just use whatever you have as leftover. So it's been a few minutes. I just cut up some of the veggies. I put carrot, celery, and onion into the stock pot. I cracked some of the black pepper and I threw in the fresh herbs. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add in the fresh ginger and garlic. And I said a splash of apple cider vinegar. So I'm literally doing 1 ounce. So you can do more, but I tend to be a bit careful with this just because it can be a bit strong. But I go with 1 ounce. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put some water in, and I'm gonna put this on the stove and bring it right up to a boil, and then bring it down to a simmer. So you bring it to a boil and just momentarily, and then let it simmer for about 2 hours on the stovetop. And we're gonna add the beans and potatoes in later. So I'll check back in with you soon. So I just started it on the stove. As I said, I'm going to bring it right up to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. You can see quite a bit of the onion here. I cut in larger pieces. I'm going to actually remove the onion. I'm just cooking it for flavor. So if you want to keep the onion in, you can cut it much finer. So I'll check back in with you in a bit to see how the soup's going. So the soup just came up to a boil, and what I did was I just turned the heat way down, and it's going to come back down to a simmer. So you don't want to boil it too long. You just want to bring it to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. And I'm going to let it sit at a simmer on the stove for about 2 hours, and I'll check on it. So my timer for 2 hours just went off. So I wanted to check on where the soup was at, and you can see the ham bone here still has a little bit of the meat on it. Smelling really good, and I just tested it. It tastes pretty good, but I'm gonna give it another hour. This was a larger ham, so the bone was pretty big. I left quite a bit of meat on it. In my case, I'm gonna give it 3 hours to simmer. But depending on how big of a ham you're working with or ham bone you're working with, you can get it simmered for 2 hours. That might be enough. So just depends on the size of it. I'm gonna give it another hour. I'm gonna check back on it, and then I'll add the beans and the potatoes. Okay, so now that I gave the soup another hour to cook off the bone, I have the potatoes cut up, and I'm going to add those in. Okay, so I'm going to let those cook for about 20 minutes, and then the final step will be to add in the kidney beans. So for our final step, we're going to add some kidney beans into the soup. Okay, and I'm going to show you the final dish in a few minutes. Alright, so the soup is finished, and this is our final product here. And I just tested it, it came out really good. So I'm not going to lie, this is only the second time I've made it, so I was a little bit skeptical, but with a little bit of experimentation this time, it came out pretty good. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any comments or feedback or suggestions, please feel free to leave those, and please like and subscribe to my channel.